Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. This time, we're going to be diving into something that I think is probably in a lot of people's minds, as we get a little bit older, and that is retirement. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Social Security.
Oh, yeah, a very important topic for sure.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is this whole deep dive was actually sparked by an article that one of you listeners sent in, so thank you for that.
Right.
And the article is all about how where you choose to retire can actually have a pretty big impact on your Social Security checks.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. They just sort of assume Social Security is this fixed amount you get from the feds.
Right, exactly. It's just this magic number.
Exactly. But it turns out it's not quite that simple.
So, okay, let's break this down a little bit for everyone listening, okay? Most people probably already know that the federal government can actually tax a portion of your Social Security benefits, right?
All right. Yep.
And depending on your income, it could be up to 85%, which is a pretty big chunk.
That's right.
But what a lot of people don't know, and what this article really dives into, is that some states actually tax those benefits too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise for a lot of folks. They're like, wait a minute, I already paid taxes on this money, and now the state wants a piece of it too.
Right. It's like double taxation almost in a way.
Right. It can feel that way for sure. But the good news is the trend is actually moving away from taxing Social Security. As of 2025, only 9 states will still have this tax in place.
9 states, huh? Okay, well, I think our listeners probably want to know which ones those are so they can, maybe cross them off their list of potential retirement spots.
Absolutely, yeah. So those 9 states are Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, Montana, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. The 9 states where you might want to think twice before settling down if you're relying on Social Security.
But wait, there's a little caveat with West Virginia.
Right, I did hear something about that.
Yeah, they're actually in the process of phasing out the Social Security tax, so by 2026, they'll be off that list completely.
Oh, interesting. So it's possible for states to change their minds on this.
Exactly. Things aren't always set in stone.
So I guess the takeaway here is that choosing the right state to retire in could potentially save you thousands of dollars each year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about chump change here.
No, not at all. In fact, the article gives a really great example using Missouri, which is a state that recently stopped taxing Social Security. Let's say you're a retiree in Missouri getting $30,000 a year in benefits.
Okay.
And let's say your effective state tax rate is 5%. Before they got rid of the Social Security tax, you would have been losing $1,500 a year to the state.
Wow, $1,500. That's not nothing.
No, absolutely not. That's like an extra vacation or, a nice chunk of change to help cover those ever-increasing grocery bills.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It makes you realize this stuff can really add up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if you're thinking about retiring, you definitely need to do your homework and really research the tax policies of this state you're considering. It's not just about finding a place with good weather or being close to family anymore, right?
Yeah.
You got to think about your wallet too.
Exactly. I always tell people, don't assume anything. Each state has its own little quirks when it comes to these rules and exemptions, so you really need to dig into the specifics. And even within a state, your age and income can affect how much you end up paying in taxes.
Oh, that's right. So it's not just about the state itself, but also your individual financial situation. Man, this stuff can get complicated. I think I need to talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah, a good advisor can definitely help you navigate all of this and make sure you're taking advantage of all the breaks and exemptions that are available to you.
So, okay, we've talked about the 9 states that do tax Social Security benefits, but what about the other side of the coin? What about the states that don't?
Right, well, get ready for this because as of 2025, there will be a whopping 41 states, plus Washington, D.C., that won't touch your Social Security income with a 10-foot pole when it comes to taxes.
41 states. Wow. That's actually a lot more than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant number, and I'm willing to bet that a good chunk of those states are already popular retirement destinations.
Yeah, I would think so too. We're talking about places like Florida, Texas, Arizona, all those sunny, warm places where people flock to retire.
Exactly. And you have to wonder if part of the reason those states are so popular with retirees is because they have these favorable tax policies.
It's a good point. I mean, I know we see those commercials all the time for those active senior communities in Florida. Maybe this no tax on Social Security thing is part of their secret sauce.
It makes you think, doesn't it? And when you look at the collective savings for retirees in these states, it's pretty staggering. The article mentions that in Missouri alone, retirees are estimated to save a combined total of $309 million annually now that they've nixed the Social Security tax.
$309 million. That's a lot of money staying in people's pockets.
It is, and that's just one state. Imagine the total savings across all 41 states plus DC. It's mind-boggling.
Okay, so listener, it's official. You've got some homework to do. Start researching those retirement destinations, dig into those tax policies, and most importantly, start picturing the life you want to live in those golden years.
And don't forget, it's not just about where you want to spend your time. It's also about where your money can work best for you.
So true. All right, well, we'll be back in a bit to talk more about this, but in the meantime, start thinking about those retirement dreams and whether you might be willing to relocate to a more tax-friendly state. It could make a big difference in your overall financial picture.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. It really does make a difference. And, it's not just about the money either.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, when states make themselves more attractive to retirees, it can actually benefit everyone. Think about it. Retirees often have more disposable income than younger folks.
That's true. They're not usually saving for college or, paying off a mortgage anymore.
Exactly. And that means they're more likely to spend money in the local economy, supporting businesses, and creating jobs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, retirees tend to be very active in their communities too. They volunteer, they join clubs, they're out there really living their best lives.
Right. They're not just sitting at home watching TV all day.
Exactly. And all of that activity contributes to a more vibrant and engaged community, which benefits everyone.
It's a win-win situation for sure.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that retirees are a growing demographic, especially with the baby boomers reaching retirement age.
Yeah, that's a huge generation.
It is, and states are definitely taking notice. They're practically tripping over themselves to attract this wave of potential residents.
It's like a bidding war for retirees almost.
Kind of, yeah. And getting rid of that Social Security tax is a pretty powerful incentive.
It's like saying, hey, come retire here and keep more of your hard-earned money.
Exactly. It creates a more favorable environment for retirees, which can have a ripple effect throughout the entire state's economy.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our listener for a minute. Knowing this information about state taxes on Social Security, how might it change your retirement planning? I mean, would you actually consider relocating to a more tax-friendly state? That's a pretty big decision.
It is, yeah. Suddenly, it's not just about finding a place with good weather or being close to family. You have to consider the financial implications of your location, too.
Right. Maybe that dream retirement home in a charming mountain town loses its appeal if it means losing a chunk of your Social Security benefits to state taxes.
Yeah, it's all about finding that sweet spot between lifestyle and finances.
It's about weighing those trade-offs, right? Like, would you be willing to give up some of the amenities or the scenery of your ideal location if it meant you could keep more of your money?
Exactly. It's a personal decision, of course, but it's something worth thinking about.
And it really highlights how important early retirement planning is. The sooner you start thinking about these factors, the more options you'll have.
Absolutely. You don't want to wait until the last minute and then realize, oh shoot, I should have moved to a different state 5 years ago.
Exactly. So start exploring those retirement destinations, crunch those numbers, and figure out what works best for you. And don't forget, it's not just about the state level either.
Oh, right. You're talking about local taxes, right?
Yeah. Even within a state, different cities or counties might have their own local taxes or fees that could impact your retirement budget.
That's a really good point. It's all about getting into the nitty-gritty details. Talk to financial advisors, consult with tax professionals, and really dive deep into the specifics of each location you're considering.
Because that's where the real knowledge lies. And speaking of knowledge, that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive. We want our listener to be armed with the information they need to make smart decisions about their lives.
Because knowledge is power, right? And when it comes to retirement planning, knowing how to maximize your financial resources can make all the difference in the world. It's about ensuring you have the freedom to enjoy those golden years to the fullest.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And speaking of gaining knowledge and staying ahead of the game, if you're enjoying this deep dive, you'll definitely want to check out what the True North is doing. They're covering all sorts of financial topics from investing to managing debt, and they do it in a way that's both informative and entertaining.
I'm a big fan, actually. They have this knack for making even the most complex topics seem easy to understand. It's like having a financial mentor right in your pocket.
And they're always updating their content with the latest trends and insights, so you know you're getting the most relevant information.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to take control of their finances and plan for a brighter future. I really can't recommend them enough.
So listener, before we move on, what's the biggest thing you're taking away from this conversation about Social Security and retirement planning?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that, deciding where to retire, it's not just about like lifestyle anymore. It's a big financial decision too. And those state tax policies on Social Security, like we've been talking about, they can really make a difference in your income. So you got to factor that in. Don't let those dollars just slip away.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowledge is power,
Yeah.
right? Especially when it comes to your money. The more you know, the better choices you can make. And all of that leads to hopefully a more comfortable and, enjoyable retirement.
For sure. And even if you're thinking like, retirement's ages away, it's really never too early to start thinking about this stuff and exploring what your options are.
Totally agree. So listener, if you're out there daydreaming about those golden years, don't just picture the beach or the mountains or whatever Think about your wallet too. And hey, while you're at it, why not check out the True North channel? They can help you navigate all the ins and outs of, all those financial twists and turns on the road to retirement. And hopefully a financially secure one at that.
Yeah, they're great. They really break down those complex financial topics in a way that's easy to understand and, even fun to listen to.
And like always, we've got some helpful links in the show notes for you. You'll find websites where you can dig deeper into, those state tax policies we talked about. And there's even some cool retirement planning calculators to help you crunch those numbers and figure out what your situation might look like.
And remember, those state tax laws can change, so it's always good to stay updated. The resources we linked can help you do that.
Really good point. It's a constantly changing landscape out there, so we want to make sure you have the latest info.
Well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the world of Social Security and how where you choose to retire can impact, how much money you actually have to spend. Who knew location could be so powerful?
It's been great exploring this with you, and I hope our listeners are walking away feeling more informed and, maybe even inspired to take some action. Me too. I know I'm feeling a lot more confident about my own retirement plans now. And remember, listener, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your finances. So stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Until next time, happy planning, everyone.